welcome in the legend, Hall of Fame quarterback, Warren Moon. Warren, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Look, it's hot. It's summer. We're about a week away from camp opening in some places, earlier for others. You're a young 67-year-old man. Do you ever get the desire to throw a few 9 routes this time of year, Warren?
I did for a number of years, but not in the last few. I have a son that plays high school football, and I do throw the ball around with him some, but he's too busy with his teammates now to even take passes from a Hall of Famer. So I think I've gotten axed out by the younger generation.
Warren, this is Coach Dave Campo. How you doing?
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. Listen, we had some games against you, and I was glad when you left Houston. I can tell you that. My first question would be this: I'm sure you follow the NFL, and especially being a professional football player for as long as you have been. What's your take on Trevor Lawrence? Have you seen enough of him to have a reaction to him?
Yeah, I have. He's a tremendous talent, no question about it. I love his temperament. He's not a guy that gets too high. He doesn't get too low. And that's something you want in your quarterback. He's very athletically gifted. He's just been through a lot of changeover there since he's been in Jacksonville. He's had 2 coaches so far in his first, 3 or 4 years. He's had different number 1 receivers. I think he had Kirk for a while. He had Ridley for a while. Now he's going to have another guy this year. So I just think he needs to have some more consistency around him, and I think you'll see his play become more consistent. And I know he had an injury last year as well. Even though he got off to a great start, I think after the injury he wasn't the same player. So I know he just signed the big deal. I know there's going to be a lot expected of him because of it. But I don't think he's the guy that'll put that much pressure on himself, that he's going to go out and he's going to play good football. So I think he'll eventually end up living up to all the expectations that were put on him when he was drafted number 1 overall. But with any quarterback, it's one of the most important positions in all of team sports, but it's also one of the most dependent positions in all of team sports. So if you don't have the collective around you, it's going to be hard for you to be successful. As they get that around him, I think he'll be much better.
That's awesome. Hey, how you doing, Warren? This is Cleo Lemon.
Hey, Cleo, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I got a chance to meet you back when I was with the Chargers, man.
I remember.
Yeah, man. Okay, yeah, you were doing TV for the Seattle Seahawks, man. And I've always been a huge fan of yours, man. And when I was a kid, I was just growing up. I wanted to be like you. I love your style of ball, man, and
that's great.
Hall of Famer. I followed your progress and all the things you've done. But one thing I always look at, you were so talented, when it came to passing the football, and this was back in the 70s, right? What would you do in today's game, man, if you was given the opportunity to run some of these RPOs and some of this? High tempo offense with the concentration on the passing game. What kind of numbers you think you would have put up in this game?
All I can say is, Cleo, it'd be kind of scary. I think it would be scary. Not just myself. You look at John Elway. If you put him in this era, you put Dan Marino in this era, or some of the other guys that I played with that became Hall of Famers. This is a passing man's game right now. It's a receiver man's game right now, and that was my strength. That was my style. So I would have loved to play in this era right now, and I definitely wouldn't have minded picking up the checks that they pick up every week too.
Hey, Warren, I've said over and over that I think the quarterback position is the most important, the most stressful position in all of sports, in any sport. There's just so much to be done from the time you're calling the play in the huddle till you break, till you hit the line of scrimmage, to pre-read, everything. What makes a rare quarterback? Because you got guys drafted in the first round that are busts. You've got the last pick in the draft who's now one of the best quarterbacks in the league with Brock Purdy. What makes a rare quarterback?
Well, it's a lot of the intangibles. First of all, I think you definitely have to have the physical skills. You don't have to necessarily have to have a rocket for an arm, or you don't have to be highly athletic, but you have to have a good enough arm. You have to be a little bit athletic. I think mental and physical toughness have something to do with it, because you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. You go through a lot of adversity at that position, and how do you bounce back from those situations? How do you bounce back from throwing an interception? How do you bounce back from throwing a big incomplete on a third down when you needed it on that drive? You know, what do you do when you go back on the field? How do you process that on the bench while you're over there getting ready to go back out there? I think that has a lot to do with it. And then how your teammates view you, you know, and a lot of that happens during the week, you know, through your preparation, through what they see you doing, getting prepared for games. And then they also want to see how you handle losses and how you handle bad situations. So all of those different things have to do with a quarterback. And like I said earlier in this interview, it's a dependent position. So you've got to have people around you. And some of the young guys that you've seen come into the league that have been bust, a lot of them have gone to situations where they just didn't have the support. They didn't have the resources to help themselves be successful. And once you get off to a bad start, your confidence starts to wane. And next thing you know, you're on the bench. So what they surround you with has a whole lot to do with your success as well.
Warren, Cleo, the question that Cleo just asked you, I thought was great, and it kind of goes to mine right now. As a coach, I always feel like the run and shoot offense that you guys ran at Houston back in the day was kind of a precursor to today's NFL passing game. Would you agree with that? And do you see the similarities?
There's no question, Coach, what teams are doing today with the four wides and the spread offenses and that all comes off of what we were doing with the run and shoot. And the only difference is we had four wide receivers all the time, where now, because of these hybrid tight ends, you've got a Travis Kelce or some of these guys who can really run like a wide receiver, but you can also use them as a regular tight end. So there's a little bit more versatility in the offense because of these tight ends, the way they can play. But you look at the combinations of routes, you look at the adjustable routes that they have going now, where receivers can almost never be covered based off of what they see on the defense. The back shoulder throws, we called it a fade stop. Today they're calling it just back shoulder throws, but we did all of that stuff back in in 1990. So
wow.
Yeah, I see a lot of similarities between what we were doing. The difference being that we had four wideouts all the time, and today they still use a tight end. And
I had to defend it.
Yes, you did. And you did a pretty good job, my man. You got a few rings on your fingers to show for it.
Thank you.
So I got a quick question. I had a chance to play in the Canadian League, right? And I know that's where you went after you left the University of Washington.
Right.
So when you look back on your time there, because I know how hard that game is, right? With that 12th man, the big field, the motion. How did that help you develop into the NFL quarterback that you were, the Hall of Fame NFL quarterback that you were?
It just increased my versatility up there. Even though I didn't want to go there and play, of course, my dream was to play in the NFL like every other kid that, dreams of being a football player. That's not where I wanted to start my career, but I didn't have any other choice because I wasn't going to be allowed to play quarterback. But I went up there with the mind focus to get better and to just show what I could do up there, and also be able to show NFL scouts when they did come to our games what I was able to do. And I think the versatility is what helped me, because we ran an offense where we sprinted out and threw the football. We did play action, and we also threw from the pocket. And I didn't do a lot of pocket passing when I was in college, so that part of my game really improved when I got up there. So the benefits of me going up there was the fact that I got to play every week, and I got to be in situations, and I wasn't sitting on a sideline holding a clipboard for a veteran. I was actually playing. So that part of it really helped me, but there's no question where I wanted to be, and that's why I ended up coming back to the NFL.
Yeah, Edmonton could use you right now, Warren. They're winners.
Man, they could use a lot.
They're on 4 right now. so listen, all offseason we've been trying to break down, the collapse of the Jaguars and how Trevor Lawrence regressed from his 2022 season. A lot of talk has been around turnovers, and he's had some problems with fumbles. As a quarterback, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the fumble aspect? Because interceptions guys make plays out there. Interceptions are going to happen. But fumbles are different. How do you deal with that?
You just have to be more mindful that you have to protect the football, and it starts in practice with the way you go through your drills in the beginning as far as keeping two hands on the ball in all situations. If you're a guy that has had a bunch of fumbles in the pocket, making sure that when guys come through with bags to hit you or whatever, they're grabbing at the football and just making you much more aware of where your weaknesses are. So whatever your weaknesses are, that's what you need to go back into the lab and work on. And I think that's what Trevor needs to do. I ended up leading the NFL in fumbles, believe it or not, and it was because I had a open dislocation of my thumb. In my last 10 years of my career, I could not bend my thumb.
Wow.
So I didn't get a lot of pressure on the ball. So I dropped a lot of snaps sometimes. So every time if I dropped a snap under center, I also led the league in fumble recoveries because I'd fall right back. I'd fall right back on the ball. So that was something I really had to try and work on to try and strengthen that thumb so I had a better grip on the ball. But I never let anybody know that I had that problem as far as my thumb was concerned because I didn't want them to start replacing me. When you get to a certain age, they start looking for reasons to get rid of you. So I never let on about that except for between me and my trainer. And, that was a problem I had sometimes that I dropped a lot of snaps, but I never had a problem dropping the ball in the pocket as much.
I'll tell you, that's why you're a Hall of Famer. You were able to adjust.
Yes.
Adjust in the NFL is big. If you fumbled it, you got back on it. No problem.
Well, the thing that scared me, Coach, was I had to change the way I released the football and how I held the football. But
right.
I was able to get that done, too, and still be able to throw it effectively in those last, 8-10 years of my career.
And I know your thumb, it was a big part of it. But I would also ask, too, would you probably, I wouldn't say anticipate, but do you think there might be an issue with Trevor holding on to the ball too long in the pocket and not anticipating things and getting the ball out on time that sometimes causes the pass rush to get there and create those fumble opportunities for the defense?
That can happen, and you see that happen with a lot of young quarterbacks when they come into the league. They want to see it come open, and I think Justin Fields was somebody I looked at the last few years too that I felt the same way about. That he held the ball a little bit too long in the pocket and took unnecessary sacks because he had to see the play come open as opposed to anticipating that window. And I don't know if that's because Trevor's had different receivers, over his first so many years in the league and doesn't have that relationship with them yet, or maybe that's what he's used to, just coming out of Clemson. But that's something he's got to change and become more of a quarterback that can anticipate the holes, can anticipate the windows, and I think that comes with just a lot more one-on-one work with your receivers.
He's Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon. Warren, thank you so much for joining us. Great stuff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Warren.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Man, thank you, Warren, man.
Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'll tell you what. You hit it with the run and shoot. The run and shoot is kind of what today's offense is with the vertical passing game. It's very similar. June Jones was a brilliant offensive mind.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, the guy that used it the most in my time was Manning.
Right.
With the Colts.
Right, they did very similar things.
They had a very simple attack. Bang, 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 and that was it. And if certain guys went a certain way, you kind of knew what was happening, but you couldn't stop it because it was so precise.
I'll tell you, Greg, we got to go to break. I know, RJ. Hang on. I'm going to tell you a great story. I went out to Hawaii like in the early 2000s to do a story on Colt Brennan, the quarterback out there, and I sat with June. We were sitting on the beach talking. It's awesome. And he said, watch the Patriots. They're literally running our offense right now. They're running the run and shoot offense.
Wow.
He said, you watch what they do. That's what they are running the run and shoot. If you look at it, it's the same thing. And I started thinking, I was like, wow, that's insane. All right. What an interview with Warren Moon. Fantastic.